There comes a time in everyone's life where the idea of who a friend is must be defined, where you must ask yourself the question, can anyone be a friend? Most threats do not walk toward you with a weapon. They walk toward you with a smile. They call you brother. They call you mate. They call you family. They call you my guy. Then they quietly dismantle you, not by attacking your body, but by attacking your direction. Understand this early. I'm not here to paint you a picture of a gloomy world, nor am I going to tell you a fairy tale. This is the truth, and the truth is often bitter. Look to the kings and emperors, and you will realize that they were always defeated from within, long before they were dethroned from the outside world. And if this can happen to them sometime, then this happens to you every time. Realize that this is the reality of the world. There are people who are with you only until you stop being useful, only for as long as you are of use to them. Wouldn't it be nice if kindness was met with kindness, where respect was given, and in return it was received? Sadly, this is not the way the world works. The guy willing to play dirty will win. The ruthless will walk away with the prize, while the nice ones remain scratching their heads. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology had a name for it. He understood that most people do not fight you openly. They manage you. They shape you. They drain you. They isolate you. They pull you back into the version of you that is easiest to predict. He wrote for princes, but he was really writing for any man who wants to survive inside human nature. He warned that most people never meet your real character. They meet what you project, and they respond to that signal. His observation is the backbone of today's episode. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. That is not poetry. That is a security briefing. Because if everyone judges by appearances, then the people around you will not show you their true intentions either. They show you what is safe. They show you what is useful. They show you what gets them access. They show you what you want to see. So understand what you're listening to right now. This is not a motivational speech. It is a perimeter manual. 7 masks that appear normal, even friendly, but secretly destroy your success. And I'm not going to name them like a cheap list video. For each mask, you will get 3 things. A tell you can actually spot, a test you can run without drama, and a countermeasure that protects your momentum. If you can't apply it, it's entertainment. And you are not here to be entertained. You are here to stop bleeding. Machiavelli is going to be in the room with us throughout this presentation, referenced, explained, because he gives you the correct frame: reality over fantasy, survival over ego, control over comfort. He didn't write for saints. He wrote for leaders facing betrayal, envy, and manipulation. That is why his voice still cuts through modern, politically correct, deliberate noise. He teaches you the same lesson again and again. The world does not reward innocence. The world rewards structure, timing, and the ability to read people without being hypnotized by their performance. Before we begin the 7 masks, I want you to see the invisible mechanism underneath all of them. When you level up, you change the economy of your relationships. Your growth changes what people get from you. It changes your availability. It changes your predictability. It changes your role. And that threatens those who benefited from the old you. People rarely admit this out loud because it sounds ugly, but Machiavelli never flinched from ugly truths. He understood that a shift in power triggers resistance. Some people negotiate, some people admire, but many people sabotage. Not because they are evil, but because they are weak, and weakness fears change. If you want a single sentence that explains half your social pain, it is this: many people do not hate you. They hate what your growth forces them to see. And when a person hates what your growth reveals, they will try to manage your growth. They will do it with jokes, guilt, gossip, distraction, extraction, and subtle dominance games. They will not say, "I want you smaller." They will simply behave in ways that make you smaller. Machiavelli's lens helps you stop moralizing the issue and start strategizing it. He would tell you that a leader does not complain about human nature. A leader accounts for it. He would tell you that the first duty of a prince is to protect the state, because if the state collapses, nothing else matters. Your state is your life. Your territory is your time. Your army is your attention. Your supply lines are your habits. Your alliances are your relationships. If the wrong people have access, your resources get drained, your reputation gets contaminated, and your direction gets interrupted. So today you learn selection. You learn access control. You learn how to read masks. Mask 1 is the Leech. The Leech rarely appears as a villain. It appears as a victim. Unlucky. Struggling. Always in a season. The Leech turns your strength into a subscription. They don't come to your life to build with you. They come to feed off you. Your time, your money, your emotional labor, your attention, your advice. And at first it feels noble to help. It makes you feel like a good man. It makes you feel needed. That is the trap. The Leech ties your identity to rescuing, so you stay in reaction mode. You stay in caretaker mode. You stay in problem-solving mode. And while you are saving them, your own life is not being built. In modern psychology, you could call it codependence, enabling, or emotional labor exploitation. But Machiavelli would call it simpler. You are misallocating resources. A prince who spends his treasury on endless emergencies becomes poor. A man who spends his energy on endless emergencies becomes weak. The tell is this: a real friend can have a bad season, but their pattern changes over time. The Leech has bad seasons that repeat with different names. The story changes. The outcome stays the same. They are always drowning. You are always the lifeguard. The test is brutally simple. Say no once, calmly, with no explanation. I can't do that. Then stop talking. A stable person might be disappointed but will respect it. A Leech punishes you. They guilt you. They become passive-aggressive. They talk about how no one is there for them. They remind you of what they did for you once, years ago. Because they don't want your help. They want your compliance. The countermeasure is access control and boundary discipline. Stop explaining boundaries. Stop negotiating boundaries. Stop overfeeding people who refuse to learn how to feed themselves. Help in ways that don't cost your momentum, and stop subsidizing repeated patterns. Machiavelli would not call this cruelty. He would call it governance. He would remind you that if you collapse, you help no one. The Leech is not defeated by anger. It is defeated by consistency. When your no becomes normal, their attachment breaks. And when their attachment breaks, you get your life back. Mask 2 is the wolf. The wolf is dominance with a smile. The wolf does not want friendship. It wants hierarchy. And it wants you beneath it. The wolf turns every room into a battlefield. It challenges you in front of others. then shakes your hand afterward like nothing happened. It interrupts you, corrects you, jokes at your expense, one-ups you, and if you react emotionally, you lose twice. You lose the moment, and you lose your frame. Machiavelli understood something most men learn too late. If you allow someone to publicly diminish you, you teach everyone else how to treat you. That is why he obsessed over perception. Men in general judge more by the eyes than by the hands. In other words, they judge what they see, not what you feel. If the room sees you being framed as lesser and you don't correct it properly, the room updates its perception of you. The tell of the wolf is that it cannot tolerate neutrality. If you enter a room calm, it becomes restless. If you speak with certainty, it pushes back. If someone respects you, it tries to reduce you, because your presence threatens its position. And the wolf's identity is position. The test is not to fight, it is to hold your ground calmly once. The wolf expects either submission or chaos, so you give it neither. You respond in short, clean statements. No over-explaining, no defensiveness, no performance. Calm correction or calm non-engagement. If the wolf escalates when you remain calm, you have confirmed it. The countermeasure is not to wrestle publicly unless you can win decisively. Machiavelli would never advise a prince to fight a battle he cannot finish. So you starve the contest. You do not feed dominance rituals with emotional fuel. You speak less. You move slower. You hold eye contact. You answer once. Then you redirect. If the wolf continues, you don't argue. You reposition. You remove access. You reduce shared spaces. You build power quietly until your results speak louder than their theater. You become untouchable. Socially, financially, emotionally. The wolf can only dominate what it can pull into the mud. Mask 3 is the hyena. The hyena is dangerous because it hides behind friendliness. It laughs, it compliments, it leans close like you're in on the joke. But it feeds on decay. The hyena is not a direct fighter. It is a scavenger. It doesn't attack you head-on. It devours you through the group. Gossip, insinuation, concern, selective storytelling. It smiles in your face and eats your reputation behind your back. And understand this: a man can recover from losing money. A man can recover from a breakup. A man can recover from failure. But if you let the wrong people narrate your story, you can lose years of social momentum without even knowing how it happened. Machiavelli knew that open hostility can be managed if you see it early. But the hyena's power is that it makes hostility invisible. It turns people against you quietly, so you don't even know the war started. The tell is simple. The hyena bonds through talking about other people. It brings you news, secrets, inside jokes about others. It acts like information is intimacy, but it's not intimacy. It's a weapon. Because if they talk to you about others, they talk to others about you. That is not cynicism. It is pattern recognition. The test is to plant a harmless, unique detail, something that doesn't hurt you if it spreads, but is distinct enough you'll recognize it. Then wait. If it returns to you through the group, twisted, exaggerated, reframed, you have identified the hyena. The countermeasure is an information diet. You become boring, polite but shallow, friendly but not open. You stop giving stories. You stop giving emotional confession. You stop giving the hyena material. Machiavelli would call this controlling the flow of intelligence. In any court, the man who controls information controls outcomes. So do not donate your inner life to people who collect stories for sport. Build direct relationships with key people, so the hyena cannot be your translator. If someone must understand you, let them understand you from you. Mask 4 is the fox. This one is strategic, calculated. The hyena eats what's already bleeding. The fox creates the bleeding. It lays traps, manufactures leverage, plays long games. Machiavelli admired the fox for a reason. He said a ruler must know how to be both lion and fox, strong enough to deter wolves, clever enough to spot traps. But here is the modern translation. Some people in your life are always building an angle. They offer help that creates debt. They offer connection that creates dependence. They offer favors that come with invisible terms. And once you accept those terms, they own a piece of you. The fox doesn't always blackmail you like a movie villain. Most foxes use softer leverage. They remind you of what they did. They hint at what they know. They hold your secrets like collateral. They create situations where you feel you owe them. And the moment you try to leave, they apply pressure. The tell is that the fox hates clarity, because clarity removes ambiguity, and ambiguity is where they hide. If you ask for specifics, timelines, expectations, written terms, they become evasive or offended. They accuse you of being paranoid. They say, "Why are you making it formal?" Because formality kills their trap. The test is to insist on clarity once, calmly. What exactly are we agreeing to? What does each person provide? What's the timeline? A healthy person respects structure. A fox resents it. The countermeasure is leverage reduction. Do not hand out vulnerabilities. Do not hand out secrets. Do not accept help that creates debt. Document agreements, and never let someone become the gatekeeper of your opportunities. Because the gatekeeper always believes he owns the gate. If Machiavelli could step into your life for a day, he would tell you to become difficult to trap. Fewer emotional confessions, fewer vague agreements, fewer favors accepted from people whose motives you can't map. He would tell you that being too open is not virtue. It is exposure. Now we enter the masks that destroy men, precisely because they look moral. They look caring. They look good. These masks don't need force. You cooperate with them willingly. Mask 5 is the judge. The judge controls you through shame. They present as principled, ethical, honest. They say they want the best for you. But their love always comes with conditions. Their respect always comes with approval. The moment you set a boundary, the judge puts you on trial. You say no, and suddenly you are selfish. You prioritize your work, and suddenly you are cold. You protect your peace, and suddenly you've changed. You pursue ambition, and suddenly you're egotistical. The judge doesn't have to scream. It just has to make you doubt yourself. Because a man who doubts himself is easy to direct. He starts living according to permission. Machiavelli warned that a leader must avoid being controlled. Many men confuse peace with submission. They keep the judge close because they fear conflict. But the judge is conflict disguised as morality. The tell is internal. After conversations with the judge, you feel like you have to explain normal decisions. You feel like you're defending your life. You feel guilty for having boundaries. Your autonomy feels like a crime. The test is to set a boundary without explanation. I'm not available for that. If they respect it, good. if they demand reasons, debate, emotional labor, if they insist you prove your innocence, you've found the judge. The countermeasure is to refuse the courtroom. Do not argue. Do not defend. Do not negotiate your mission. Repeat the boundary calmly. Machiavelli would say steadiness is power. He would remind you that people use moral language as a weapon because it feels clean. But it's still a weapon if it controls you. So you stop being hypnotized by the tone and start measuring the outcome. If their care reduces your freedom and increases your guilt, it is not care. It is control. Mask 6 is the opportunist. This one hurts because it often wears the face of loyalty. It looks close. It looks like partnership. It looks like, I'm with you. But it is conditional and transactional. The opportunist attaches to benefit. They like you when you are rising. They like you when you are useful. They like you when you provide energy, status, attention, security, access. When you struggle, when you become inconvenient, they drift, they withdraw, they become critical. They act like hardship is failure. This mask appears in friendships, business, romance. The surface changes, the psychology stays the same. They are not bonded to you, they are bonded to what you provide. Machiavelli wrote that many people are loyal until the wind changes. In modern terms, when the reward disappears, so does the relationship. The tell is subtle. The opportunist celebrates your highlights, but resents your focus. They want the lifestyle, not the labor. They want the version of you that's entertaining, available, generous. But when you become disciplined and structured, they feel deprived, because they were feeding on your unstructured access. The test is to remove one benefit temporarily, not as a game, not as manipulation, just as a reality check. Become less available. Stop paying for things. Stop offering constant reassurance. Stop making their life easier. Watch whether respect remains stable. Healthy people adjust. Opportunists punish. They bargain. They turn cold. They start keeping score. The countermeasure is to stop begging for loyalty and start measuring it. Inner circle access is reserved for those whose respect stays consistent across seasons. Machiavelli would call this selecting reliable allies, because a prince who trusts the wrong allies is conquered without a battle, and the modern man who trusts the wrong allies is drained without noticing until it's too late. Mask 7 is the anchor. It rarely attacks, it rarely insults, it rarely gossips. It doesn't look predatory. It looks comfortable, familiar, safe. Sometimes it feels like home, and that is why it destroys more men than any other mask. The anchor keeps you in the old version of you, not necessarily because they hate you, but because your growth threatens their identity. When you evolve, you become a mirror that shows them what they refuse to do. That creates discomfort. So they pull you back, not with violence, but with gravity. You start training and they say you're doing too much. You stop drinking and they say you're boring now. You focus on work and they say you've changed. You stop complaining and they say you think you're better than everyone. The anchor doesn't want you to fail. It wants you to stay the same. The old you is predictable. The old you justifies their choices. Machiavelli warned about fortuna, the unpredictable force of life, and he emphasized that strong men rely on method rather than comfort. The anchor is comfort. Comfort is the slowest form of death because it doesn't feel like death. It feels like rest. The tell is that the anchor keeps inviting you back into old habits, old environments, old conversations, old identity. They celebrate you when you relapse because it restores the old order. The test is to announce a lifestyle boundary that improves you. I'm locking in early sleep. I'm cutting distractions. I'm training consistently. Watch whether they support or mock it. Support looks like respect. Mockery is sabotage. The countermeasure is distance without drama and replacement environments. You don't need a fight. You don't need a speech. You change orbit. Because if you stay in the same environment, the environment eventually wins. It always does. If you want to understand why so many men fail right before they break through, it's not always lack of discipline. It's that their environment keeps resetting them to the old identity. The anchor is the reset button. And a man who allows others to reset him will never build anything stable. Now you understand the 7 masks. The leech drains your resources. The wolf contests your status. The hyena devours your reputation. The fox manufactures leverage. The judge controls with shame. The opportunist attaches to benefit, and the anchor pulls you back into the old life. But there is a bigger point you must not miss. These are not types of people as a meme. They are patterns. And the reason patterns matter is because you stop arguing with personalities. You stop saying, maybe they didn't mean it. You stop saying, maybe I'm overthinking. You stop negotiating with confusion. You start operating with clarity. And clarity is power. Machiavelli would tell you that the most dangerous man is not the aggressive man. It's the blind man. The blind man keeps giving access to the same threat because he insists on interpreting everything through hope. He keeps expecting human nature to change because it would be nicer if it did. But the world is not built around what is nice. It is built around incentives. People behave according to what they can gain, what they fear losing, and what their identity needs to protect. When you understand incentives, you stop getting shocked by betrayal. You stop getting shocked by envy. You stop getting shocked by manipulation. You start seeing it early, and seeing early is winning early. At this point, most people make a mistake. They hear this and think the answer is to cut everyone off. That's emotional. That's reactive. That's another form of weakness. A disciplined man doesn't burn bridges in rage. He builds gates. Machiavelli's mindset is about control, not chaos. Selection, not constant conflict. So here is the perimeter protocol. 5 steps you can apply starting today. Step 1. Stop leaking your plans. This is where most men get destroyed. They announce the mission too early. They talk about what they're going to do. They seek validation for a future that hasn't been built. The moment you leak plans, you invite interference. The hyena narrates it. The wolf challenges it. The anchor mocks it. The leech attaches to it. The fox angles it. The judge shames it. The opportunist positions near it. Machiavelli was obsessed with timing. He would tell you to reveal strength after it is established, not before. So move quietly until outcomes exist. Step 2. Categorize your circle. Stop treating everyone like family. You need tiers. Some people are for social enjoyment. Some people are for business. Some people are for deep trust. Most people should never be in the deep trust category, not because they're evil, but because trust is rare. Step 3. Run small tests. Not manipulative games, reality tests. Boundaries, clarity, time, consistency. A healthy person passes without drama. A dangerous mask reveals itself under pressure. Step 4. Control access, not emotions. You do not need to hate them. You do not need revenge. You do not need to expose them. That's what weak men do. Strong men simply remove access. Attention is currency. You do not fund threats. Step 5. Build replacement environments. This is the step that separates temporary improvement from permanent identity. If you reduce access without replacing the environment, you will crawl back to the same circle out of loneliness. So build new rooms where discipline is normal, growth is respected, and people don't bond through decay. The goal is not to become isolated. The goal is to become protected while you expand. Now I want to bring Machiavelli in more directly, because he gives you the psychological spine behind this entire strategy. He kept returning to one theme: perception and stability. People don't just respond to your internal truth, they respond to what they think you are. That's why he wrote that men judge more by the eye than the hand. It's why he also argued that it is safer to be feared than loved when you cannot be both, because fear is more reliable than affection when incentives change. But don't misunderstand him. He wasn't telling you to become a tyrant. He was telling you that reliability matters more than romance in the real world. Applied to your life, it means this: you cannot build a strong life on people whose loyalty depends on your convenience. You cannot build a strong life while leaking your intentions to those who profit from interrupting you. You cannot build a strong life while allowing moral language to shame you out of boundaries. You cannot build a strong life while allowing gossip to define you. This is why Machiavelli emphasized that a leader must choose advisors carefully and control the narrative around his rule. In modern terms, choose your inner circle carefully and control what information you broadcast. You don't do that because you're paranoid. You do it because you understand how quickly human perception turns into social reality. One rumor can alter how you're treated. One moment of public weakness can invite public dominance. One poorly chosen ally can become a leak. Machiavelli would tell you that the state collapses not only from external armies, but from internal betrayal and poor governance. Most men lose the same way, not because the world is too strong, but because their perimeter is too weak. Let me make this real with a scenario, because theory doesn't change behavior. Images do. Imagine you're in a group, friends, colleagues, people you've known a while. You're changing. Nothing dramatic. You're starting to take yourself seriously. You speak less. You move with intention. You don't chase approval. You're not as available. You've stopped leaking plans. You've stopped volunteering emotional confessions. You've stopped being the clown or the rescuer. The first thing that happens is the wolf tests you. A joke at your expense, a public challenge, an interruption. It's trying to measure whether your new frame is real. If you get heated, you feed it. So you stay calm. You respond cleanly once, then redirect. The next thing that happens is the hyena starts extracting. What have you been up to? Why have you been quiet? What's going on with you? It smiles, it laughs, it pretends curiosity is care, but it's collecting. So you become boring. You give nothing. The anchor tries next. Bro, you've changed. Said like an accusation disguised as nostalgia. You don't argue. You nod. Yeah, I have. No apology. The leech senses reduced access and creates a crisis, a sudden need, a sudden emergency. You don't rescue. You offer a boundary. I can't do that. Then silence. The judge tries to shame you for your boundary. You're selfish now. You're cold now. You refuse the courtroom. You don't defend the mission. The opportunist stays near the energy while it benefits them. But when you're less available, you watch them pull away, and you take note. And the fox watches all of this quietly, trying to see where leverage is. So you keep your vulnerabilities private, keep agreements clear, and stop accepting favors that create invisible debt. That one scenario is the entire episode in motion. The reason I'm telling you this is because you have lived it before, but you didn't have labels, so you blamed yourself. You thought you were the problem. You lowered your ambition to keep the peace. You apologized for your boundaries. You made yourself smaller so you wouldn't trigger other people's insecurities. Machiavelli would look at that and call it surrendering territory. Not because you were defeated, but because you were unguarded. Now I'm going to give you one tool to end the confusion permanently. A single question you ask after any interaction that exposes masks fast. Ask yourself, did this person increase my clarity or reduce it? Did they increase my momentum or drain it? Did they increase my self-respect or make me justify my existence? If the answer is drain, reduce, shame, confuse, you don't need more evidence. You need less access. That is the prince's mindset applied to modern life. Not cruelty, not paranoia. Control, selection, method. Because the true ruler is not the man who dominates others. It's the man who can govern himself and his environment. If you cannot govern your perimeter, someone else will. If you cannot control access, someone else will define your role. If you cannot protect your momentum, someone else will consume it. So from this moment forward, when you walk into rooms, remember, you are not just meeting people, you are reading masks. And your success depends on whether you can see what they are hiding before they touch your life. The goal is not loneliness. The goal is sovereignty. And sovereignty begins at the perimeter. If you want the next step after this episode, it's not another motivational concept. It's practical expansion. How to identify allies, not just threats. How to build a circle that strengthens you so you stop living in defense mode and start living in growth. Because once the perimeter is clean, your energy stops leaking. And that's when your life finally accelerates.
If you haven't already, like, share, comment, and subscribe to support our channel, and we will see you in the next video.